And a very good evening to all my viewers out there. It's Monday, January the 6th, 2020. It's about 10:50 p.m. And we are here in Point St. Charles, just east of Verdun. Verdun, of course, is that way to the west. And we're here on Wellington Street. And, I figured it's a nice little night to do a walking video around this neighborhood, which, like I mentioned, is called Point St. Charles. And maybe we'll take some side streets, some main streets, just to show you what it looks like at nighttime. And so this neighborhood is one of the older ones in Montreal, very similar to Saint-Henri, Verdun. This neighborhood was settled, I think it was by the nuns actually, when they came over from France. This used to be, of course, Quebec used to be New France. Used to be a French colony, hence why there's so much French and so much influence of French. And this is Park Margaret Bourgeois, which I believe was one of the main sisters, the main nuns that came over from France. And of course they ran the schools, the hospitals. Like I said, the Catholic Church basically ran everything up until fairly recently. And it says there, Park Margaret Bourgeois, 1620 to 1700. First, I guess they're saying like institutrice. I think that's institutionist, female for like someone that's found an institution of Montreal, and founder of the Congregation of Notre Dame de Montréal. So like I said, pretty important person. And the name of the street actually behind me there is called Filles de Roi, which is the daughters of Roi. And I could be mistaken, but I think those were the women that were sent from France basically to be husbands for the males that were in the colony, because the men that were here colonizing this area didn't have any wives, so they sent them over. That's the story. There's a 30-100 series 61 bus, and that, of course, the 61 line serves Wellington Street. Goes from downtown all the way through Verdun, right by the water. So anyways, a lot of history here, and I would be able to show you if it was daytime. It's the Maison Saint Gabriel. It's a beautiful, beautiful house from this. I think it's the 1700s. Can't really see it because it's nighttime, but I may actually walk by that way. So just so you know, as I mentioned, we're walking east. There's an old church there that I think is now, it might actually be a Hindu temple or something like that. But I think it used to be a Catholic church at one time. Could be mistaken. There's a new hybrid. 40-118. Been seeing them everywhere now. So we wait to cross the street here. Alright. So this here is called the Hogan Bath. What this was at one time was, people didn't have access to swimming pools that much, I guess, at the time. And this was a place where you go to cool off. And that's what this place was in here. Now it's a residential, apartments, condos, whatever. But it has the original decor, original signage. And the neighborhood baths, I believe they were like swimming pools. And I could be wrong, but they maybe actually were used for people to shower as well. I'd have to look into that, but definitely something to do with the water, obviously. Here's a beautiful mural depicting the Filles de Roi, or the daughters of Roi, which, like I said, were sent over from France. Very beautiful mural. And here's your housing here, traditional housing here in this sector of Point St. Charles. Old style, very nice looking, beautiful. And this street coming up here is Dublin. You're going to notice a lot of the street names around here are named after English, Irish cities, Scottish cities. This is Dublin. And yeah, right down here. Maybe we'll, not this street, but maybe the next street we'll go down. Yeah, why not go down here? Because that's where the Maison Saint Gabriel is. Or the Saint Gabriel house. Maybe we'll at least be able to see the outside of it. There's a nice pickup truck for you vehicle lovers. A Chevy, I believe. And yeah, like I said, it was back to work today after 2 weeks off, so it's hitting me now. You know, I had to get up early, and after sleeping in most of the time the last few weeks. So yeah, I'm not really in the schedule yet, so I'm tired, and I'm actually pretty exhausted, so I'll be going to bed after I do this video, uploading it. Heading back towards Verdun. There's an old abandoned building that has been abandoned as far as I remember. I don't know what used to be in here. I assume it was apartments, but man, it's an eyesore. And what street is this here? I should know this. No street signs. That's a weird. Okay, this is Hall Street. So we'll keep going down Hall, and maybe make our way to the old train tracks. Yeah, so you could see Hall Street on the side there. As you can see, it's a garbage night in this area. And if you're wondering where those bright lights are coming from in the sky, it's actually from a Le Bear Park, it's called. They recently installed these new lights, and man, are they bright. A little too bright in my opinion. There's some Christmas lights that are still up. So you can see here, these houses on this street share the same style, at least on this side of the street. And then you go to the other side and you got that old style stone house over there. So let's take a quick look here at the St. Gabriel house. There's those lights I was talking about. And there's the Owens, Illinois glass factory in the distance. Probably emitting a lot of chemicals in the air. And like I mentioned, that's a glass factory that's been here for decades. Basically, they produce plastic bottles, jars. But yeah, there's concern. I don't think they ever did a health study on the area about the health effects of that on the neighborhood. I mean, you know, it's a residential area, and smack in the middle you have that big glass factory, but it is what it is, I guess. I'm sure they have some kind of rules for emissions. And look at this old style fence. Isn't this beautiful? You want to go back in time, this is the place right here. And I'm going to do a video one day on this beautiful house. I know museum day, it's free to go inside. It's a shame because they used to have this open all the time, at least the outside, where you could walk around and explore the grounds. But let's check it out. Let's get a nice view from here. So this was the Maison Saint Gabriel, was the Saint Gabriel house, and I think it's basically for the sisters, the nuns, like a residential area for them. It's a Quebec heritage site. Yeah, so I mean, this thing is old. It's historical, and there she is. Look at that. Beautiful old house, beautiful. And like I said, it's a museum now. And yeah, you go inside and you can see original artifacts, original art. back from the time of New France, when this area was a colony. Alright, so we'll go back here, and this street that we're going on to right now is Favard. It's called Favard Street, I believe. Yes, this is Favard. So we'll work our way down to the railway tracks. Maybe we'll see a rare train going by, a freight train. Well, not really rare, but if you think about it, if you sit back and wait for one, it takes longer. Usually they appear when you're least expecting them. I know on my way to work today, I filmed a Saskatchewan train very briefly. There's another school. This is the French school. The one we saw earlier was the English school in Dublin. St. Gabriel's. This is Jean Lebert, I believe. Yeah, very cold night compared to usual. And yeah, I mean, the weather coming up this week, they're saying it's going to be 6 degrees later in the week, but before that it's going to get really cold. Here in Montreal, about -11 on Wednesday, I believe. And there's a bit of snow. And unfortunately back to rain, and it's disappointing. I'm still waiting for that big snowfall of the year, the big one. And I hope we're going to get a good snowstorm before the year ends. Would be nice. Alright, so the street that we're coming up to here is Fortune Street, as in good fortune. And there's Lebert Park. Oh, they finally turned the lights off right as I got here. Those big spotlights. And yeah. There's we're on Fortune and Favard right now. So what we're going to do, we're going to keep walking east on Favard. And we'll finish the video, like I said, at the train tracks. Might be another 5 minutes, 7 minutes. This apartment building has been there for years as well. I think one of the largest apartment buildings in the neighborhood. There's the CLSC clinic. An alleyway. Alright, so now we are coming up to Ash Street, as in the ash trees, which have been hit quite hard by the ember ash beetle. And I think that's what the street is actually named after, the ash tree. Quick look down there. And yeah, once we get to the end of this street, we're at the train tracks, like I mentioned. The old CN train tracks that are now used as, well, there's a CN line, I think, that goes by there, main line. But there's the EXO commuter train maintenance center there as well. At least one of them. There you go, some old alleyways. That's interesting. Alright, so this is Sharon Street right here. Sharon and Favard. And the old style street signs, actually put them on the walls, some of them, the buildings, as you can see. Somebody's calling me while I'm doing a video. And yeah, I'll resume in a moment, hang on. Alright, sorry about that. It was actually my my alarm going off, one of my alarms that I had set. And yeah, so now we are on Burgess Street, if you want to call it that. Almost at our end of our destination here, end of our walking trip here. Yeah, so I mean, there's at least snow on the ground. I'm not going to complain about that. Got to pick up the pace a bit because my battery is starting to show signs of going down because of the cold. Usually electronics outside in the winter do not perform as well as the summertime in terms of battery life. It's a lesson I've learned many times. Another alleyway. Lots of them around. Christmas trees. That's an old Tacoma, it says. Sorry if I'm picking up the pace here. It's just because, like I said, I don't want my battery to die before I get there. This is Saint Madeleine, Rue Saint Madeleine. Oh, there you go. Nice train horn. And the Via Rail Maintenance Center is around here as well. Back on Ash Street where we were earlier, a few minutes ago. Alright. So we're going to climb these stairs coming up. There's one more street that we got. There's actually two more streets we got to pass through here. I think there's an old car around here for you old car lovers. Probably not around here now because it's winter time. They probably put it in storage. Forgot what kind it was. And this street is Congregation. Rue de la Congregation, is in a congregation for a church, I believe. And we are coming up now to one of the most historical streets in the neighborhood, Sebastopol. And I'll tell you why. That's because at one point the railway industry played a very important part in this neighborhood. And there's a big rail yard behind here. You're going to see it up these stairs in a minute. This stairway was never here until recently. It was all flat land. But all these houses you see here are basically, they were at one point used to house the rail workers that used to work around here. And that's what Sebastopol Street is. So we'll climb up and you'll see a nice view of the rail yard here. A nice way to end the video. There's Sebastopol Street. And it was those buildings specifically right there that housed the rail workers, I believe. Yeah. Alrighty. So I'm going to wrap her up in about 10 seconds here. I'll give you a quick view. My battery is almost drained. But I'll leave you this nice view of the skyline. Beautiful. There's a view of Point St. Charles, where we just came from. Alright, have a good night everybody. Thanks for watching, and more videos to come.